Hello class. Today we'll be talking about the periodic table. I know this is something that we used a little bit last unit and even on our test that we just had, but we're going to learn about how it's organized, what it's made of, and maybe even understand it a little bit better after this presentation. So let's start with our important vocab. It's always important to discuss some of the words we'll be using just so when we use them we all understand them and are on the same page with what we're talking about. So if I haven't mentioned this before, if there's ever anything underlined, that means it's really important, and that I'd love for you guys to write that in your own notes as we're going. Again, please feel free to pause the video and stop at any time. If I'm going too fast, you can always pause the video, write some things down, and then continue. So a metal is our first vocab word we're going to learn today. It's an element with high electrical and thermal conductivity and easily loses electrons. So an element with high electrical and thermal conductivity means that electrical conductivity means that electricity passes through it. So in our houses that we have lights on, we have metals running through the wires so that we can transfer that electricity into our lights. Thermal conductivity means that something can get hot quickly. It passes energy through it. So this is a great example when we're cooking. We have our metal pans or pots, and as they get warm, they transfer that heat, and also the metal gets warm. And these also tend to lose electrons. A lot of the times when we were doing ion examples, in our last unit, we were using metals. So our next word is non-metal. A non-metal is an element with a low electrical and thermal conductivity and is easily gains electrons. So just the opposite of a metal, right? So if we have electricity passing through a non-metal, it does not go through easily. It usually will stop. And same with the thermal conductivity. It takes a long time to transfer heat through non-metals. We also have what are called metalloids, which are a very interesting group of elements. These are elements with the ability to be a thermal and electrical semiconductor. And what a semiconductor means is that it shares properties of metals and nonmetals. So sometimes at just the right energy or temperature, it will act like a metal, and at other times it'll act like a nonmetal. These are used a lot in our electronic devices, such as our cell phones, as our computers, as our TVs. Metalloids and semiconductors are super important. The last thing we're going to learn about are valence electrons. So we won't touch on this right now, but later on in lectures we'll learn about different valence electrons, the electron shells. But a valence electron, is electrons in the outermost shell which determine a group's ability to bond. So very important notes here. Valence electrons are just the electrons in the outer shell. As elements or atoms I should say, get bigger, or elements I guess too get bigger, their shells, or they have more and more shells. And we'll get into this a lot more later, but the one that truly matters the most is the one on the very most outside, which is called the valence shell. So let's discuss where we can find our metals, nonmetals, and metalloids on our periodic table. So first thing is, let's start with our metals. So our metals is, if I can get this to click, metals are everything under this line. So, we have everything from lithium, beryllium. Number 3, we have aluminum, gallium, tin, bismuth, and all these others as well. So there's a lot. Most of the table, as you can see, are metals, which is really important to understand. We have a lot of different kinds of metals that are used for many things, but That is most of our table. The next part is our nonmetals. So we have hydrogen off by itself, which is a little confusing, and we'll explain why that is in a later video, but just know for now that hydrogen is a nonmetal. It's off to the left, and then really everything on this right side, this right top corner, is a nonmetal. So carbon, this is phosphorus that got cut off, sodium, chlorine, all of these are nonmetals. These are our elements which do not conduct heat or conduct electricity well. And then our last one is what we're left with is just this interesting staircase looking section. So as you can see, we kind of start here and go up a step at a time till we stop at boron. There's really only 8 elements that are in this staircase. These are our metalloids. So like I said, they were very rare. They were incredibly important for chemistry though, and unique because they can share the properties of our nonmetals, which are over on this right corner, and our metals, which is the rest of the table. So look, the important thing is where they're located on the table. Our metalloids are boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic, antimony, tellurium, polonium, and acetate. I would love for you guys to write down just those abbreviations. This is a lot of names, but since there's only 8 of them, I wrote down their abbreviations. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. I had a typo in there that I had to fix real fast, but I'd love for you guys just to write down these 8 elements, their abbreviations at least, just so we know our metalloids, and they're in our staircase. The metals are everything to the left of the staircase except for hydrogen. We have hydrogen at our top left. That's our unique one. And then our non-metals, which is everything to the right of the staircase in that upper right corner. So what we're going to go through is trying to classify the elements as a metal, non-metal, or metalloid. So we have oxygen. If we're looking at our periodic table, where would oxygen be? This is not a great picture, but I will point. Oxygen would be up here on our top right. It would be to the right of the staircase, so oxygen would be a non-metal. Calcium. Calcium's another good one. If we come out and use a different periodic table that's a little bit easier to see, we have calcium over here on the left in our metal group. So awesome. Our next one is palladium. So PT, palladium, is right here. So I'd love for you guys to ask yourself, would this be a metal, metalloid, or non-metal? Our answer is obviously a metal. We are to the left of the staircase. Our next one of the ones we wrote down was arsenic. Arsenic is right in the middle of our staircase, so it is a metalloid. The next thing we're going to look at is silicon. So silicon right here, again, right at the top of our staircase. So another metalloid. And then our last example is neon. Neon is up here in the top right. It's to the right of our staircase, so it is a non-metal. So that's what I had for you guys today. It's really important that we can be able to use our periodic table to classify where these are at. If you have any questions, as always, please let me know.